DAPTIME Sports. It's game time. 4 episodes can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. Also, you can follow us on YouTube at DAPTIME TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to also follow us on Instagram at DAPTIME21, Twitter at DAP_time, and Facebook at DAPTIME. Thank you for your continued support. We're proud to partner with Harrell Eyewear to bring you this episode, makers of stylish and innovative luxury prescription and non-prescription glasses for all occasions. For more information, visit the partner link on our website or go directly to www.harrelleyewear.com. Harrell Eyewear, never lose your identity. It's time.
What up? What up? What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time, DAPTIME's conversation about sports and sports-related topics. I am AJ, also known as B-Dub, Bobby Westbrook, and as always, I'm here alongside my partner in crime, the one and only world-renowned Big Dame, holding down the rhythm section, as always, in-house maestro, Nice. Look, DAPTimers, Game Timers, we are jumping in today with both feet. We're going to review this year's NFL draft. We're going to talk about some of the controversial stuff surrounding the NFL. You know his name, Aaron Rodgers. But with that, it is now time. Relax your spine, activate your mind. Let's lace them up and get on into the group. What up, Big Dave?
What's happening, bro? What's going on?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be back having another conversation with you. It is the highlight of my week, every opportunity I get.
The feeling is mutual, brethren. Feeling is
right
mutual.
on, brother.
Yes,
right
sir.
on, brother. So we make the most of our time. I think it's great to jump right in. The draft happened last week, and I am excited to hear from you. What really caught your eye? What did it live up to the hype for you? Were there any letdowns? What's your overall opinion and review?
It did. It pretty much played out the way I think everybody thought it would, at least through the first 6 or 7 picks. I did think that I thought Chicago jumping up to get Fields at 11 was interesting. I think, most people expected the Patriots to make that move. My boy Micah Parsons, he goes to the Cowboys at 10. They jump up and get him. They got much needed help in the linebacker territory. So, and I thought that was big. But for the most part, I think it was what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting because I talked about in the preview show the theater around the draft, and what really blew my mind is that the theater actually kept my attention. I mean, I certainly wasn't glued to the television for 7 rounds of players going here and there, but I did find myself checking back more often than normal just to see who was doing what and really checking out how teams were being built and assembled, what they were planning, moves they were making. I know we're going to talk about gamesmanship in our tip-off segment, but just really kind of just looking at how the draft moved. ESPN did a great job, but so did all the other networks, NFL Network, Fox, as they covered it. And I think what was impressive to me was the job the NFL did, considering, what's different this year versus last year's draft. You're in the heart of the pandemic, still a lot of unknowns. This year, they kind of captured a little bit of the momentum of getting back to whatever's going to be the new normal in movement. I thought having fans on stage, handing the pick to Goodell in the first round was a real nice move, even though it seemed like they got every fan that, really was a long time fan, had been through the wars. They was like, hey, do any teams have any normal looking fan? It was just very extreme. But for the fan himself, I mean, it was it's a great moment. They got regular everyday people, right?
Yeah.
Just standing up, men and women. It was very equal opportunity.
Yeah.
And some great moments, man. Some of the fans showed out. So I thought the theater of the draft was well done.
I agree. I agree. I think it was the first round. I was glued for the first round. I was, I usually am not. I'll usually check in, see how things are going. But this one, yeah, I was there. I was for it. I was for it all from the first pick to the 32nd. So yeah, I was pleased. I was pleased.
You know, it was interesting to me, and I think your boy Michael Parsons is among these, but there were a few players who set out. And, that I think we weren't alone, but I think many thought, hey, how far will they fall?
Right.
But to have maintained their stock, Penei Sewell, among those,
Yeah.
maintained his stock. I think he went around 7.
Yeah.
Speculation is that he probably wouldn't win in the first 3 or 4 picks had he played. But it'll be interesting to see, to me, how sitting out a year translates. It creates additional narrative, because you and I both know when you have a year off from football and you're not getting game speed, you're not getting game contact. They're young enough, I think, to bounce back will be fine. But what do you lose? Do you lose a step?
I think for these guys, Penei Sewell was one. J.C. Horn, he played a few games and then shut it down.
Right.
Is another one that comes to mind. But I think in Penei Sewell's case, I think when you're a first round pick, a top 10 pick projected, you got enough of a machine behind you to where he had state of the art trainers and things. I'm sure. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure he had enough behind him to where he probably was able to get himself healthy, fully healthy, and he's probably going to hit the ground running, is my guess.
I wonder how so we definitely have to do, we'll tease this now. DAPTIMERS, in the coming weeks, we're going to tackle our thoughts and feelings on the NCAA. If you're a game timer who follows us on DAPTIME, Big Dame and I love to get into some series. And we both have strong opinions about the NCAA and what it is. So we'll be talking about that in a few weeks. So stay on the lookout for that. But Big Dame, it definitely intrigues me how these athletes in this time, how are you affording that? And you and I both know, there are tons of people who say they'll give their services because they know if I do right by you, I'm likely to be on your payroll.
Right.
But that's an interesting dynamic as well. Here you are, you're a college student, you got no bread. The promise is there that you will make your bread, but how are you making it? And is there a violation if you're still a student to be getting those services? That's an intriguing thought to me.
I agree. It's interesting. It's a well choreographed dance, is what I think it is. But yeah, we definitely should cover that, definitely, because I think there's a lot there. Too much to get into today, but there's a lot there.
Let's talk about a couple of the moves that were made. Trey Lance goes, my opinion, broadened. You and I have, in pre-production, had several conversations about Trey.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this out front. I think as an athlete with the look and what we have on tape, promising, very promising.
Oh yeah.
Top 3 pick?
Possibly. I think we touched on it a little bit in the pre-draft show, right? So you have your top picks, and a lot of times your later round picks end up panning out to be better pros. In many cases, not all the time, but in many cases, than some of the more sizzle picks. You know what I mean? If for lack of a better word. So when I look at Trey Lance, I see somebody who, to look at him, I see a lot of upside, right? Just to look at him, the size, the strength of the arm. You see him on tape. Now I understand. He played for North Dakota State. He's playing a lesser competition than a lot of these other guys were playing. I get that. He only played 17 games, I believe, in college.
17 games.
So I get that. But at some point, if you feel like you got the system that you can plug him into, and if you're a quarterback guru, so to speak, which Shanahan is supposed to be. I mean, I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him taking a chance on that. You got Garoppolo, so you got a situation. You went to the Super Bowl with him 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So
something like that.
so you're not hateful. You're getting a lot of defensive players back that were hurt last year. The 49ers are they're ready to win now. You bring this kid in, even if he has to sit a whole year, and you get him acclimated to the speed of the game, to the pro process, it could turn big dividends, in the future. Also, it could turn big losses. But I mean, that's the gamble you take on any of them. I feel like.
Um, I heard a stat
Mm-hmm.
that really prompted me down this road.
Mm-hmm.
So the stat was he is currently the college football's leader for uh, most completions without a pick.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Played 17 games, though, one season.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's not a feat, but again, you're playing FCS ball, and so you're padding his stats a little bit for the public. And in reality, what we don't know what it looks like when he faces NFL speed across the board. We have no idea.
Right.
And so that's a huge gamble, man. That to me, that is like I'm putting all my chips on the table because I got to pay rent and I just need to hit big. Like you just, it's like one of those desperation roles to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I agree with you. It's not as desperate when you keep Garoppolo and you hope he's going to be healthy. And I think they have another quarterback on their roster as well who's played well as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you feel like it's safe enough, right? If it pans out, you may have the second coming. But if it doesn't pan out, that was your number 3 pick, and you had a chance to maybe bolster your team in other areas where it's not as risky. And so that's it. It actually makes him to me someone you really want to watch
Mm-hmm.
and see the development. I actually am rooting for him
Mm-hmm.
to be everything they hope he is.
Well, I get it, man. It's a gamble, but again, for me, just looking at him, seeing what I've seen, granted in the FCS, granted only 17 games, but his size, some of the things I've heard about him, if they can get him in there and get him in the system and it works, it could work big. What's more of a question mark for me is the number 2 pick, Zach
You
Wilson.
keep saying that. You are on Zach Wilson like he has no chance.
No, I have no problem with him. I'm not on him like that, but I don't know where it came from. I still can't figure out where it came from. Number 2,
He's got more games under his belt than Trey Lance.
he does at BYU, and he jumped over.
Respectable. Steve Young played there.
Of course. But I mean, to make the jump he did, to go from not being thought of in the top 3 picks or 4 picks even, he just jumps over everybody, and he's right there behind Trevor Lawrence. I don't get where that came from. So that's my only thing. That's more of a question mark for me than Trey Lance.
So I agree with you. It's a huge question mark, but it's more of a question mark for me because it's the Jets. I would think I'm trying to figure out why the Jets would unload Sam Darnold,
right,
and get in such an unknown quantity to me. Now, I mean, I didn't see maybe in their film study they saw every throw, plus they see his pro day, and they're like, this is a guy that in our system, he's going to flourish. Is Le'Veon still with the Jets? I thought there was some talk of him moving on.
I think he went to Kansas
That's right.
City.
He's in Kansas City, right?
Year.
So Le'Veon's gone. Yeah. So you don't have Le'Veon. They have a couple of decent receivers, and the Jets actually they looked like they had fight in them, which is, to me, last year I was like, well, maybe this is the next year that Darnold makes the leap, because I didn't think Sam Darnold. I never was a Sam Darnold fan. Like, I think he's the next great quarterback. But I thought Sam Darnold played well enough that he could actually lead a team. And so you're getting rid of a guy who knows NFL, who's got – I don't see where they got better with Zach Wilson. Maybe they save themselves the headache of having to negotiate a big quarterback contract and dealing with that controversy next year. But if you're going to gamble with all the other options that were on the table, even if you just, I mean, is he better than Mac Jones? I don't know.
Good
Certainly the
question.
Patriots didn't think so.
No, not at all. But I don't know, man. I think it was the quarterback moves made in this draft were very interesting because take the Jets, for example. They could have used so much help in so many different areas. They could have kept the Sam Darnold. I agree with you. I think he played good enough to be
Mm-hmm.
serviceable. They could have kept him and got some help on defense, or maybe picked up a running back or another skill position player, or do something with the offensive line, help the quarterback out. You know what I mean?
Right,
Instead of
right.
just getting a new one. So I mean, I think they had a lot of different places they could have went with a number 2 pick, but it's the NFL, man. Theatrics.
So you know who I think the biggest loser is in this draft? The biggest loser in this draft didn't even participate in the draft.
Who was that?
The biggest loser in this draft is every really good backup quarterback on somebody's roster. If you've been in the league, to me, for 3-4 years, sitting behind somebody who's good, and a team says, "I'm going to gamble on somebody with no NFL experience
Mm-hmm.
on the hope that they're good," rather than to come and negotiate picks and options to build their team by taking you, it's like, what does that say about you?
So maybe somebody could have, made a trade with Green Bay to get Jordan Love and not
Maybe
pick the
that makes
quarterback
exactly,
and
exactly.
fixed all of that stuff going on up there. Maybe.
There's a teaser. There's a teaser.
Just wondering.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like we would rather get a new guy to replace you. Because really, think about it. If you're the backup of the San Francisco 49ers, nobody's talking about you. It's
Right.
already a foregone conclusion that you're never going to start.
I think what it is, man, I think it goes back to the theater of it. I think it's like Christmas morning. It's the shiny new toy. And I think even teams, so much money involved, so many competent people involved, you would think they would see through and think through, think outside of the box. But they get enamored with, I feel, they get enamored with the shiny new toy. And it's like, oh man, this kid is coming out of college. Whew. He can, man, have you seen him rip it? I know it was against the
Right.
Citadel. Don't worry about that. But he ripped it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Meanwhile, you're sitting there with your clipboard like, hey, what about me?
yeah, I threw for 3,500 yards last year
Right,
in 10 games while he was hurt. Remember? So
right.
yeah, I think it's the shiny new toy syndrome, man. I really think that's what it is.
It's interesting. I am intrigued as ever to see this upcoming season. I will say this, and to kind of close out the theater topic. There was so much buildup about so many different players as the draft went on, throughout the draft. Guys, great stories. The defensive cat that was picked up, Pay from Michigan, retired his mom immediately. Like, there's some really great. I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys pan out and what they become as professionals. Big Dan, want to take a second, want to give a special call out to everyone who participated in Bank This, our first ever competition, kind of trivia question. We threw 2 questions out there at you. Got a great response. Really appreciate those who responded. Big Dame and I are going to pull and select the winner this coming week, and we'll announce it in next week's show. So be staying tuned for that. We're going to try to make sure that's a big deal. It is an amazing dap pack. You won't want to miss it. Also available on our website, www.itsdaptime.com. You can click on the Dap Shop, and you can get this year's Draft Edition hoodie, which is a dope one. It's not a game. It is not a game. So Sounders did a nice job on that, and you'll want to take advantage of that while it is up. It is a limited edition item. Thanks to Bankster for providing a couple of great questions. The answers are exciting. So in the next episode, we will announce the answers and the winner as well. Big Dame, we're on the clock. You noted something in the preview of the draft this year, which we wanted to come back and analyze.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about the gamesmanship of teams, that a lot of the draft success is centered around the gamesmanship. It is owners and GMs not tipping their hat until that day. And even then, being able to think on their feet and adjust and make the right moves to get the most out of it. When you look at this year's draft and you look at the gamesmanship, were there any moves in particular that you said that's what I was talking about? That's exactly the kind of move that reflects somebody being savvy about their GM game.
I think, and we got to give him credit, whether you like him or not. One of the kings of draft day gamesmanship, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
I mean, so all you heard was, Jerry Jones loves Kyle Pitts. He loves Kyle Pitts. That's all you heard leading up to the draft. Could the Cowboys, could they jockey for position? Could they trade up to maybe number 4, trade with Atlanta to get Pitts and, work something out there? What they did do was trade up to number 10 and pick up Micah Parsons, which is, to me, was probably one of the best linebacker pickups in this draft. And they got the help they needed because they needed defensive help. So, I mean, I think that was a great move, and I don't think anybody saw it coming. Hence the gamesmanship of it. You know what I mean? They didn't tip their hand, right, during draft, all the draft week hype. They just went out there and did it. So I thought that was a great move.
It's an interesting one to spotlight because I think they have, and I can't think of the dude, their linebacker right now, but they've got a good linebacker stable right now. A couple guys in there that play really well. Van Der Esch is a hitter. But I think what Parsons gives them is some flexibility, both with the pass rush and with coverage. He's so fast. He's so sure-handed as a tackler that whether it's stopping the run, defending tight ends out of the backfield, in the way the game is played now, forcing offenses to really rethink pass blocking and protection, not being able to just do it without a chip. I mean, all those kinds of things that we know make the difference in a window being open or closed for an opportunity to extend the drive. And so I think it was a very savvy move to move up just far enough, not give up too much, shore up your defense, which is going to help Dak. I mean, let's admit it. If Dak doesn't have to throw up 35, 40 points a game to get a victory because the defense is leaking, then it helps him out a lot. And I think Dallas is going to be a team to watch in the NFC East as well. I thought Ron Rivera with the Redskins made a couple of savvy moves. Now, I mean, he benefited from the run on offense that happened early. So you just happen to have a really deep pool defensively. But with the philosophy that he had there in Carolina of building a stout defense, for him to get a really good linebacker now playing behind that really strong front four, the Redskins are going to be a problem. They didn't get a quarterback in this draft.
I think that was a good move, though. I think it was a good move laying off of a quarterback. They got the kid Heineke that played, and he played against Tampa Bay in the playoff game. They lost, but he actually showed better than Mahomes. Now, I'm not saying he's Mahomes, but he had a good game against him. They've got a great defensive line, and to your point, you get some second layer help back there behind them. That defense is pretty good. So
he picked up a corner too. Did he get Samuel Jr.? Asante Samuel Jr.? Did he go there?
I'm not sure.
He picked up one of the sons. There were a couple sons in this draft, and I think he got Asante Samuel. Which Asante Samuel Jr. was like up there in the top 5 corners for this draft. So I think to get a good corner, get a good linebacker, he hit his defense on every level.
Yeah, I think but that's his MO. He's a defensive guy anyway. That's always been his MO. So I remember when he first got to Carolina, he kind of built them from the defensive side out like that. So I mean, that's a good sign for Redskins fans, for football team fans.
Right.
Correct.
Football. That's right there. The football club.
Football team.
The football. Washington football. That's crazy. No name yet.
They're working on it.
I don't know. What they do?
Do they stay with the football team? Are you opposed to that?
Yes.
Yeah. It kind of has a
Yes.
nice ring to it after a year. The Washington football team. It sounds regal. No?
No. It sounds. It sounds like getting generic cereal. It's a yellow box with cereal on the box. Crispy wheat flakes.
I mean, they're not bad.
That's not regal cereal. What you have for breakfast? Crispy wheat flakes
Yeah, I guess you got a point. So
with raisins. Is that raisin bran? No, it's crispy wheat flakes with raisins.
Yeah, never mind. I digress.
I'm gonna tell you about some fails I think that were out there and that I would have loved to see. And this is a good, to me, a setup for where we're going in our main event. But I think knowing that Aaron Rodgers is disgruntled, I think knowing Deshaun Watson is disgruntled, both wanting out. I was looking for a bigger splash move. I was looking for a team that had enough assets and value to try to make an offer and make a move. Now, there may have been attempts, and Green Bay takes no calls. Houston takes no calls. I mean, of course, right now, people are probably apprehensive about Deshaun. I don't know why. I would take him. I would gamble on him because I think he will be available.
Mm-hmm.
But I was looking for, like a big splash move, a trade to make a major move. I didn't see anything like that. I think the gamesmanship was really deflecting where you were looking and what talent you wanted out of the draft. That was a plus for all the athletes that were in the draft because they got picked up. But I was looking to see some veterans get moved so that a team could move up. I think something that would really have shocked. I didn't see anything like that.
Yeah, I think that'll probably happen later, is my guess. But I think this draft overall was so there was a lot of talent in this draft. So I think more
It
people
was.
were looking, as I was looking at just the quarterbacks alone, there was a lot of talent in this draft. So I mean, I think people were, kind of more or less like, let's wait and see on the free agency tip, because that usually picks up more further in the summertime, closer to the season. So I think they're probably like just waiting it out, is my guess. But I agree with you. A lot of times you'll see that big trade, for some draft picks or something, or for some early round picks. Here, take our veteran court, take Aaron Rodgers for your second and third round pick or whatever. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I thought, so New England takes Mac Jones. I know you have questions around around Big MJ. Is he going to come through like that? But they also had signed Cam weeks before going into the draft. They re-signed him. Bill's been like, Cam is our guy. Jarrett Stidham's still on their roster.
Yeah.
I don't know if Stidham ever will make his way out of a backup role. But again, it's one of those cases where it almost sounds like the dude we picked up this year is really second in line. Unless he trips over himself, he really will be second in line.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, for someone like Cam, is there a better option than re-signing in New England?
I think this is Cam's chance to show he can still play at the high level. He's already said he doesn't want to be a backup, in so many words. I think this is his chance. I mean, he had COVID last year. It was off season. It was a lot of weird stuff going on with the pandemic and everything. So I get it. There was no OTAs. There was no off season really. Brand new system for him. But this is his year to. I mean, I think he's the man unless he basically gives the ball up to Mac Jones. But I think this is his chance to. If he can have a year this year, then maybe maybe he can go somewhere else next year.
I will say this about Cam. He is definitely riding on a different plane than most of us.
Yeah. He's on a spaceship.
Have you seen any of his posts?
I saw one.
If you
Uh,
saw one, you've seen them all because it's the same thing of him coming out of his house.
oh no! I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that.
So it's the funniest thing. So Cam walks out his house. Uh, it basically comes out one thing for certain, two things for sure.
Mm-hmm.
One, I'm blessed. I'm always gonna be blessed.
Right on.
Two, I'm fresh. I'm always gonna be fresh.
Okay.
One pinky, one finger, one pinky, one thumb, one love, and then he's out. Now,
Okay.
he's like, okay, he's feeling good about himself today.
Right.
Tomorrow gonna be the same post. The
Okay.
only thing different is his fit, and we all know Cam is a fashion dude. So
He's eclectic.
he has it going like that.
Yeah.
What's funny to me though, and I process it this way, is this cat is on his way, I'm sure, to work out. He's
Mm-hmm.
on his way to work out, but that's his mindset, which is so. Again, I applaud him. He is on his plane. I think if things go the way they should, and we see Cam from Carolina, where he can galvanize the team, make the game fun, um, and really runs that offense like he ran that offense in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones won't see the field. That's number one. And number two, Cam is going to make it hard on somebody not to give him some money.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think Cam still has that Cam left in him. I think he still has a few seasons of that left in him if
The
he can be in the
question
right
is, can he do
situation.
it without the running part of his game?
Well, I mean, I think this is a good year to see that because the Patriots for the first time picked up a lot of help. They usually don't. I mean, they
True.
did a lot of stuff in the free agency. So I mean, he's got some pieces around him where I mean, last year he didn't have anything. I think N'Keal Harry was like his number one receiver. No
Yeah, I saw a
disrespect to
couple of
him.
games where Cam put butter on Nikhil and he dropped butter.
Right.
If you can't hold butter, man, you in bad
You
shape.
toast. You toast if you can't hold the butter, baby. So it was rough. It was rough to watch. So I think we'll see what happens. I think having the full off season to prepare in this system, and get the chemistry going and everything, I think that'll be helpful. I hope it'll be helpful. So we'll see.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to our main event, Big Dan, I want to take a second to give a special shout out to our partners. How we feeling? Listen, these dudes are doing it. If you followed us on our DAPTIME Life program, they've been riding with us since day one. How we feeling is a platform for really tracking your journeys. Athletes, you should love this thing because as an athlete, not every day is the same. Some days you're fired up to hit your workout. Some days you're not. Some days getting in the gym is easy. Some days somebody got to drag you just about to get in there. And so tracking your journey, whatever that journey is, being able to make your own personal notes, share them with a community of those who follow you, who you follow, with whom you're accountable. It's a really unique way to inspire, be inspired, and be authentically engaged that isn't really available through other mediums. How we feel is transforming the way that we engage online. I encourage you to check them out at www.howwefeelin.com. Everybody's got a story. Just change where you're sharing yours online. Big game, main event. We've been talking football.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the new league, new breed coming into the league, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to share with you, I'm a little bothered and concerned is probably not the right word. I'm slightly annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where to place it exactly. I don't think it's on something in the ether. I think there's a place for it to land. But we've heard this week about Aaron Rodgers since the draft. Aaron Rodgers don't want to be in Green Bay anymore. He wants to be out. The team hasn't done him right. Yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your take on that. But leading up to the draft, we also saw a lot of other stories around Deshaun Watson, which seemingly, strangely, were timed with his insisting that he didn't want to come back and play in Houston anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The attorney for the accusers happens to be really good friends of the ownership family for
Hmm.
the Houston Texans and have a relationship with them.
Okay.
Uh, and all these accusers, all of them, happen to find him. They happen to seek him out. When Deshaun comes out, you've got, and finally makes a statement, you've got accusers now wanting to back off their stories,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like wanting to, my bad, I got that wrong.
Wrong, Deshaun. Sorry.
Right. Oh, you meant Watson? No, I thought you said Wilkins.
Right.
Deshaun Wilkins.
Right. Right.
So my question to you is twofold. First of all, do you think there is something to be said about the inequity between the two?
So when you talk about the equity, you're talking about between Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson's situations.
Yeah,
being viewed
and really
differently.
The way the media is treated it, and even the way the public's perceiving it.
I think it's interesting because I think there's a couple different ways to look at it. I think both have a right to have an opinion or to want to be included in the process, which that seems like what both of these situations stem from. Deshaun clearly asked, I'd like to be a part of, moving forward. If I'm your guy, I'd like to be a part of the process, as far as who the GM is going to be, as far as moving us forward. I think in football, you can say shut up and work. Let the CEOs handle this and you do your job. You could say that in some instances. When it comes to team sports, it would behoove you to engage your team leadership on the field. I think. So I think it's not out of the ordinary and it's not crazy for a player to ask for that kind of respect. Same thing in Aaron Rodgers' case. I think what you're looking at though, from one hand, is two different scenarios. You got two different ownership models, right? The Packers are owned by 360,760 stockholders, right? That's who owns the Packers. So they vote, the shareholders elect a board, the board elects an executive committee, they're responsible for the day-to-day operation. So you're dealing with several different personalities, several different opinions. You got to work it out like that. Houston is owned by the McNair family. So it's that old school, we're the owners, what we say goes. So it's a different mentality, I think, altogether from the ownership standpoint. And every other team, I believe, is owned like that. The Packers are the only one that's owned by shareholders. So you look at the Dallas, Dallas's, Pittsburgh, all of those, they're owned by a family, Kraft in New England. Pretty much what I say goes. And I can be politically correct, but at the end of the day, what I say goes. I mean, it's just what it is. There's an intoxication that comes from that if you're not careful. So I think that you're dealing, what I see happening is a situation where Deshaun says, hey, I want to take ownership in myself. I want to bet on myself, and I want to partner with you. I don't want it to be a employee boss relationship. Let's partner and mutually benefit each other, right? He's a younger. I don't know if you'd call him a millennial or whatever it is before that.
He's millennial.
But and that's part of that generation too. More of a, we partner, we entrepreneur. We do that type of thing. It's not boss employee. It's a different mindset, right? So I think what you have going on when he asked that question, I think you have old school mentality, an owner viewing the help, asking for too much. So the owner has to say, no, back in your place, right? And I think that's what that is. So I think that's where that came from. I think with Aaron Rodgers, you're dealing with a situation where it's a little bit different. He's upset, but you may have somebody who's like, man, he's just crying and moaning. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of dealing with him. He's acting like Brett Favre, whatever, And then you might have another executive member who may say, man, but we've done a lot together. We got to work this out, man. He's our guy. we can probably do this for 3 more years and maybe win another Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? Plus,
Mhm.
I like him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that plays for something too. So I think, first of all, when you look at the equity of it, those those two models make it two very different situations, in my opinion. So when that GM stands up to talk, he's not just talking his opinion. He's talking on behalf of the executive board. So of course he's going to say, "We're going to work it out. You know, we're going to do everything we can to work it out." He's going to be politically correct because it's not just his voice.
Mhm.
You know, a private owner can just say, "Hey, I don't care." You know what I mean? And that's more of the attitude that you're seeing come from Texas, from Houston. So,
So, so if the scenarios are different,
mhm,
the owners, rightfully so, have to respond differently. So it explains away Green Bay's leadership basically saying, we're trying to do everything we can to work this out. We want him here, being very vocal and supportive despite what many would call petulant behavior. I mean, what did they do other than make decisions that were in the best interest of the team, which was their right and
right,
responsibility because
right,
they have so many shareholders. Uh, if anyone could be in the position to maybe do a little more, bend a little more easily, I
mhm,
would think it would be the small family business. When you have all those owners, all those investors and shareholders, it makes sense that you've got to, hey, we got to look out for their investment. It's not really just about what you want, it's about what's right for all of these people. And your voice, while an important voice, is not the only voice we can factor. Whereas in the small family business, you go in, hey, Mr. Johnson, I need an advance. Mr. Johnson cuts you a check,
right,
right? You go into the corporate situation and, hey, Mr. Johnson, I need an advance. Okay, I need you to submit this paperwork. I got
mhm,
to take this for a board review. Shareholders have to vote. You see what I'm saying? So
mhm,
if anybody has, that's why I say there's a, to me, there definitely seems something wrong in it. I just can't point, outright like where is it. In Houston's case, I haven't seen them even be full throw. So they said up front, we want Deshaun here. He's an important part of our team,
mhm.
but I haven't seen full throated endorsement to support him. So your name is smashed. You know this guy. No one anywhere ever said anything of any kind negatively against Deshaun or his character.
Mhm.
And the team hasn't even come out and said so much as, hey, he's in a difficult situation. And whether he plays here or nowhere, we care about that young man and we hope that his situation, turns out for the best.
Right.
Nothing. It's like, you don't want to be here? Fine. Here's this garbage. You deal with it on your own. And, it just seems like there's something wrong because it's all triggered by the same thing. The response is triggered by the same thing. I don't want to play here for you any longer. In Aaron Rodgers' case, Aaron Rodgers has had great success in Green Bay,
Mhm.
come up short in some NFC Championship games, but we won't go there. But the fans, the city, the organization love him,
Mhm.
and here's a guy who's saying, let me get a couple things my way. Again, I'm not in the mix of it, but from what you hear reported and what we can see, they didn't call him about a couple of decisions that, he thinks were important enough to get his opinion on first. Maybe he doesn't like a couple of the board members, to your point. So I want to play somewhere else. But you sign a contract that re-upped you and they didn't even balk. They didn't even balk at doing that.
Well, I mean, I get that, but I think, and I do think the situations are slightly different because I think the Aaron Rodgers situation, it seems a little petty to me. I heard that he was upset about a wide receiver that they released last year. Um, I don't even know the guy's name. When I heard his name, I was like, ooh, didn't even know he was on the team.
Bartholomew Jenkins is no longer on the roster,
Pretty much,
right?
pretty much. And then I guess he wanted them to pick up a good receiver in the draft. Don't know that for a fact. Didn't hear him say it, but they picked up a defensive player. I would think that's something you could more easily get around than in Deshaun's situation. I guess he had a conversation about being more involved and was told that he would be. So now he's been lied to. So I'm 25 years old. I've been nothing but a straight shooter with you. And you just look me right in my face and lie to me? We don't have anything else to talk about. We obviously, that's how you do business, and that's fine. I don't want to be here no more. I can't blame him for that. And to me, that's a way more egregious thing. So I know a lot of people still, if it's not a contract or if it's not on paper, there's still something called right and wrong. And you're either doing good business or not. And if you're not doing good business,
they traded B Hop. B Hop is on a Hall of Fame track.
Man, they traded D Hop. They also, let's not forget they had JJ Watt in tow. Who were they building the team to win? I'm sure he would have stayed. He saw the writing on the wall too. So, I think in those instances, it's two different scenarios. But ultimately, I think you make a good point. There's more of an indictment towards Deshaun when it's reported on, as opposed to
before the other stuff.
Yeah,
it was. He was ungrateful before the other stuff.
Right. Right.
He was being childish and petulant before the other stuff, and it was like, no, you're handcuffing this dude.
Right.
And this is not to knock Will Fuller or the other guys that are there.
Right.
But it's like you're making their job that much harder and punishing him for getting market value when you paid him, because it's like you want him there.
Right.
But you don't want to include his voice. And when you look at their ownership, and this is really crazy, it's a family business, bro. When you look at the history of the son that's running it now, his success as a professional is suspect, separate from being a league owner. Just suspect, and so it's like, here's a guy I could easily see not having the tools in his toolkit to really deal with the situation. Like, oh, wow, we did this wrong. Let's get the GM in the room. Let's get Deshaun in here. Let's get this figured out. You saw this with Jed York, although I would not come close to comparing the two owners, but similarly, when Balky was out here and you had to deal with Harbaugh, because Harbaugh was building a team that was going to continually compete for a championship, and he had a way of wanting to do things. And Balky, as a GM, they didn't agree. So you get rid of Harbaugh and you replace him with a dude that had a tough time getting the job as an offensive line coach.
Yeah.
And you say you're going to win with him and wonder why the team spirals.
But that's the point I was making about, we talk about little family-owned business, not so small, pretty billionaire businesses, pretty much,
right.
But family-owned, all the same. There's something to be said for that mentality if you're not careful. And I think in those instances, you can become intoxicated because you have the final autonomy. At the end of the day, it's your business to run into the ground or make sore. And nobody can really stop you. If there's, if you're surrounded by yes men and there's not, if daddy's gone or he's not there to pat you on the shoulder and say, hey, boy, that's not how we do it around here. Who's to stop you? So I think it's the attitude more than anything is what we're seeing play out in Houston. I think there's an attitude of, how dare you? How dare you? I'll do what I want. This is my business. This is my family's business. I'll do what I want to do. And I haven't talked to those people. I don't know that that's what they're saying, but that's how it comes across. So as opposed to in Green Bay, where there's more of a, I'm so tired of dealing with this, but I can't.
Right.
I'm
Can't do
speaking on
nothing else.
behalf of, right? Somebody likes this guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's split points of view. So I think that's what we're seeing in Houston is we're seeing that autonomy. I'm the boss. And now, if you say his track record is suspect, if you're not fulfilled,
Mm.
if you don't feel as though, if you don't really, you can look good at the club, you can look good at dinner, you can look good in the box, you can look good everywhere. But if at the end of the day, you know what you got in you and what you don't. If you don't really feel confident in your
Mm.
abilities in whatever field you're in, those are the ones that tend to be a little more autonomous because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, I said so. That's why. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to make sense, doesn't have to
Right.
reason, doesn't have to make logic. I said so. And how dare you question me? I'm the boss, right? So then that opens the door to a whole nother scene of events that could occur. So
Here's what I think they are. The timing of both on the stage is important to me because I think what we might be seeing is a shift for the NFL towards some of what we've seen now become normalized in the NBA.
mm-hmm,
And that's guys saying, if I don't want to be here, I don't care that I signed a contract or not, I
mm-hmm,
want out.
mm-hmm,
And the interesting thing about that is I feel like you should have that freedom. I feel like Aaron Rodgers. Now, listen, I'm a person. If you sign a contract, it says more about you that you didn't think about all the ramifications or implications of you signing that deal than it does the team, whatever the reasons are.
mm-hmm,
But understanding that Aaron Rodgers, to your point, probably has about 2, 3 more good years to play at the level we've seen,
mm-hmm,
um, and could maybe stretch that to 5 more years if he wanted to. Uh, if he doesn't want to be in a place where he feels like they're tinkering every year, I don't
mm-hmm,
see continuity of the growth in the direction we want to be. And I want to be somewhere where winning for me is also having fun every day. And I'm ready for something fresh in my career. I just want the challenge before I can't get it. If whatever his reasons are, I think being able to say, hey guys, I want to make way so you can really start rebuilding. I want to do right by the organization that way. Is the time to move me. If that's the conversation, he should be able to say that. He should be able to say that. And in the current structure, it seems whether you are a conglomerate owned by a group of shareholders or you're a family run business, if they don't want that to move, you can't leave without your name being sullied and your reputation being dragged through the mud. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, he may be, listen, you don't play football if you don't have a chip on your shoulder. You don't play little league football unless there's a chip, not successfully,
mm-hmm.
unless you got a chip on your shoulder. You can stand on the sideline in the uniform,
Right.
but you're not going to be on the field. So I don't think he's petty enough to think, as great as he is, them drafting Jordan Love is a real threat to him playing anytime soon.
Mm, mm.
I mean, but the narrative is out there. So who put that out there?
Right. Right.
Aaron Rodgers was really unhappy about Jordan Love. Jordan Love? Does anybody really think Jordan Love is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Right.
Anyone? Other than maybe Jordan thinks that. I don't even think Jordan Love thinks he'll be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He might, and I'm not trying to disparage Jordan Love. He's a good guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, did he think coming in the league he was Aaron Rodgers? Probably not. Probably not. You know, I mean, Deshaun Kaiser, maybe, maybe he's Deshaun. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, and I'm not even trying to smash on him like that. But to play in the NFL and do what you have to do week in and week out, consistently, successfully at the level that Aaron Rodgers does, I cannot think that dude really was worried about Jordan Love being picked up. I can't. But the media and someone felt good enough about that narrative that that's what people have run with. Mm-hmm. So when they picked him up and they didn't call him about Jordan Love, he was like, why y'all didn't get a receipt? Come on. No, there's more to it than that. But I think just the sentiment that, hey guys, I don't want to finish my career on the field here is enough that somebody was like, petty. Somebody not wearing a uniform, somebody not lacing them up, not having to stand out there in the cold and play in snow.
Yeah.
Felt like, he's being petty, not really thinking, hey, the guy wants to move on. He's done great by us. Let's move him on.
I mean, so, when you talk about player empowerment, which is basically what we're getting at. I mean, in fairness, you got to look at, both of them just signed contracts. So you talk about if you sign a contract, you're supposed to. So even Deshaun, he signed a contract, just got done celebrating it, played the season. Then at the end of the season, I guess that's when he found out, whoa, they hired a GM and they're hiring a coach and we haven't had a meeting. And so they're not going to include me. I get it, but he did sign a contract. So, I mean, is it a CBA issue? Do you have to put in shorter contract terms? Because I think he signed for 4 years with an option. So, and he just finished year one, I believe. So, I mean, what do you do in fairness in that situation? Should he still have the ability to get, should there be a lie loophole? If you tell me a
James
lie, I
Harden.
can leave.
That's why I said I think they're moving closer to what the NBA has. James Harden had just signed an extension.
But that's different too, because even in that situation, it's the same, him wanting to get out. But even in that situation, that's not going to work every time, I don't think.
It's not going to work every time, but
You see what I'm saying?
that's where, listen, we all know there's a player on the team who comes to practice late and the coach never says anything. And we know the guy he's there every day early. I would say this dude's name, but I don't know where he's living right now in the world. And I don't want to have people see him this way, but there was a dude on our team, effort.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was going he's on scout defense.
Mm-hmm.
He's on scout offense. He's on scout special teams. Mm-hmm. Right? But he was motivated. He was pumped up. Man, on game day, he wants to headbutt everybody before you go out on the field. He's a spirit man.
Right.
The spirit. He played spirit back. That was his position. He played spirit back. But let that dude mess up one time. A little mess up. Like, we out on the field, everybody kind of milling around before practice. Coach blow the whistle, and he's just now coming down the stairs. Oh, getting dogged. You ain't. Right? There is inequity for the superstar, right? But so to me, that's built into the equation. If you're the superstar, maybe you can't come and ask that question. If you're the third string nickelback, can you sign a 2-year, $4.7 million deal and after year one say, hey, I want out? Right. No. I'll cut you. I'll cut you, which is probably where part of the problem. So I think it is a CBA issue. And again, you're looking at, can the league get to the level where there's guaranteed contracts across the board, where there's secured futures for players who are putting their lives on the line, their health and wellness on the line. Can you move these small family businesses to start thinking like global multinationals? By the way, many of these owners probably are on boards or have major shares in companies who operate that way. So it's not a foreign concept. It's just that with this particular investment, I don't have to run that risk. So my profit margins are high, my risk is fairly low, and my control is through the roof. Right. And I think the players are starting to say, hey, we're seeing in other sports, baseball players getting $500 million contracts. Yeah. $500 million contracts. I'm sorry. I'm looking for some of that cheese.
Right.
You guys are the wealthiest owners in sport. You have the most profitable of the big three sports. It's time for you to break bread. And you've been sitting on this for decades. So I think this could be a window. Again, this is why I raised the question. The conversation centering around their character, their integrity, their reputation. That's the center. all because they don't want to play. They don't want to work for that company anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how that's going to go. But I mean, if they can get it turned around, if the players can get it turned around, I think this is a good time for the players as a whole to kind of rally, because any large company, if you've got a high level exec, you're going through it with them, they're looking to get out. That's the game. Let me sully your
Right.
rep. That helps me win. That's the game, unfortunately. And the cool thing about the NFL, as many sports, is you get to see boardroom type scenarios play out in front of you. This stuff is not new. These are
Right.
not new tactics. You know what I mean? But we usually don't get to see them
Yeah.
right in front of our face. So um, yeah, I agree. I think the players need to use their numbers to get
I'm
something
hoping
done.
they do. I'm hoping they do because we're seeing such great talent. I will say this. I think in this draft, not since, and this came from our trivia question, but I think not since the 1983 draft will
Mm-hmm.
there be as many future Hall of Famers seen out of one draft. I think
Mm,
this draft has amazing talent
mm,
all the way through to the sixth and seventh round. I saw some really great guys going there. I saw some free agents sign that were impressive.
yeah.
And so I really think that this class is going to prove to be a special class. And because of it, I think the things that are happening for veterans who are trying to force the hand of change, I think the importance of them seeing that through to the end. And this goes back to Cap taking a knee all the way through Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson wanting out. I think
Mm-hmm.
these kinds of moves pave the way for these guys to have great careers, better opportunities, and sets them up to do better for those coming behind them. So, with that, Big Dan, wanted to give our last little partner shout out on Game Time, DAPTIME, whatever you guys are doing when they're done working out, done with your sports. You thought bath bombs and body scrubs were for just the kids, just for your playtime. No, it's good to just stay clean. And if you're an athlete, sometimes you get out there, get done with your shower, your bath, whatever, you get ashy. Samira Jacobs body scrubs are awesome. These things, the oils she used, the all natural ingredients are so fantastic that many times you get out of the shower, barely need any lotion because of how well your skin has been nourished after using them. So I encourage you to check out their website, www.theoutseeum.com, and go through the catalog. Buy yourself 10 things. In fact, do it as a birthday present to her. She just celebrated her 13th birthday, Big Dan. So we got a teenager on our hands now as an entrepreneur. But check out the ICM 2R1. Big Dan, we got to go to the championship rounds before it gets too late here. What kind of nugget do you have for us today?
Championship rounds, man. As you well know, this is the time where we talk about different quotes from fighters, UFC fighters, boxers, any fighters, street fighters. If you know a good street fighter that got a quote, let us know. But this one comes from one of my favorite boxers, Iron Mike Tyson. And the quote is, "Fear is just like fire. It can be helpful if you know how to use it. If not, you'll get burned." So the element of this right here is I think a lot of times we look at fear and we let fear overcome us. But I think the gist of what Mike is saying here is if we look at fear like fire, fire can be good, fire can be bad. I was always told when I was young, moms used to always tell me, play with fire, you get burned. Well, that's true. But if you use fire in the right way, you can burn something else, right? It can be a tool. You can burn somebody's house down. You can burn anything down. So basically what I'm saying here is, what Mike is trying to tell us is fear being just like fire. That fear, if you let it consume you and continue, it burns inside of you and it can paralyze you and it can stop you from achieving goals. It can stop you from making steps, leaps of faith to do things that you've always wanted to try. You've always wanted to do. Fear can have you stop. It can stop you from doing that. But if you understand that you control fear, you can use fear as a mechanism to remain cognizant. It's good if you're ever in a boxing match, it's good to have some fear. Because, and when I say fear, a healthy fear, a respect level of fear of what the other person can do, because then you can move within the fight and not get too ahead of yourself. You get too ahead of yourself, you leave yourself open for shots and things of that nature. So same thing in life. If you get too ahead of yourself, you got to know your surroundings. You got to be conscious. You got to be self-aware of what you can do and what you can't do. And if you can't do it, work until you can, and then take your leap of faith. So fear, it is just like fire. It can be helpful if you know how to use it. But if not,
Love that.
you'll get burned.
I love that, Big Dan. That is it's so apropos, man, because you're right. Like if you know what you're doing with it, that fire it'll save you in the forest with a meal, keep you warm at night.
That's right.
If you don't, you will burn your camp down and everything you had in your tent.
And everybody in it.
Big Dan, thank you so much for another fantastic conversation. Appreciate always your insights, those championship rounds, nuggets of wisdom, and definitely we'll be looking forward to this year's NFL season to test and prove theories that we've gone over in the last couple of episodes. To everyone who was drafted, everyone picked up at a free agency, congratulations, best of luck from Game Time, every last one of you. Hope that you have amazing careers, fantastic success, and most of all, a lot of fun. Use today's championship round insight to guide you. Got to have a little fear, but let it be a tool used for your success, not a weapon to destroy your future. And to you, DAPTimers, Big Dave and I, along with in-house maestro Pete Nice, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this episode. Remember, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on YouTube, on DAPTime TV. Just remember when you're there to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can catch everything that we're dropping when we drop it. Never too late. And it would help out if you want to leave us a comment there as well. If you aren't doing so already, follow us online on all social media channels. We're on Instagram at DAPTime21. We're on Twitter at DAP_time, and we're on Facebook at DAPTime. You can subscribe for our newsletters and alert on our website, www.itsdaptime.com. Whatever you're doing and however you do it, be sure to share that with 10 other people. Bring them along. This is a movement. We want to enjoy this with you. Until we meet you the next time, we'll leave you as we always do. When you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, there is your competition. We out.
Peace.